Hello everyone, good evening. Myself Santosh. I'm part of the student club called Transdimensions, and we are organizing a series of discussion sessions called Pre-Janmashtami Bash series to understand the various life lessons uh, that we can imbibe from the incident of Lord Sri Krishna's appearance in this world, known as the famous festival Janmashtami. So, in the series, we have covered various uh, incidents in the Lord's appearance, like how nature celebrated the appearance day, and how demigods or devatas, also the world administrators, celebrated Janmashtami, and so forth. So, for today, we have the topic of how Lord's parents express their joy upon the birth of Lord Sri Krishna, and what various lessons does this incident teach us, specifically to the modern times, right? So, without any further ado, I would like to invite a guest for today who's gonna enlighten us on various other uh, lessons that we can imbibe from this. Sri Vigradas, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Santosh.
So, over to you, sir. We would like to hear more of how we can really understand this incident of parents praying to their child, which is
Yeah,
quite interesting to note. Yeah, over to you, sir.
yes, very nice. So, thank you, Santosh, and let's begin today's session as usual with a few prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is one nice prayer to Lord Krishna explained in the or mentioned in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. This prayer addresses Lord Krishna as Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, and as Devaki Nandana, the son of Mother Devaki. The Lord is unborn, yet he appears in this world. We had discussed this concept in the previous session. And the Lord is the Supreme Father, the supreme source of everyone, yet he accepts his devotees as his parents. So this is something very special. This reflects the Lord's unconditional love that he has towards his devotees who are completely dependent upon him. So when Lord Krishna made his divine appearance 5000 years ago, we saw various aspects so far, how nature celebrated, how the world administrators celebrated. But interestingly, the appearance of Lord Krishna happened within the four walls of Kamsa's prison house, and his parents Vasudeva and Devaki were actually shackled with iron chains, and it was not a very special place where Lord Krishna appeared, isn't it? It's not some place which can be called, oh, such a nice and atmosphere and such a nice arrangement for the celebration. No, nothing of that sort were there. But in spite of that, Mother Devaki and his father Vasudeva, they actually celebrated. Their joy knew no bounds. So far, they had actually only experienced miseries As soon as Mother Devaki gave birth to one son, each of the first six children, they were actually dashed at a wall, onto a wall by the cruel Kamsa, and they were killed immediately as soon as they took birth. So far they had only experienced miseries, but now appearance of Lord Krishna was a new ray of hope for them. So they really celebrated wonderfully. So in today's discussion, we shall see how they celebrated, what was their mood. We shall discuss that. Now, before we move ahead, I have one question for all of you. How many of you, or generally all of us, do you get limited by your circumstances at times? If yes, can you share an incident or an instance of your life where you felt that you got limited by your circumstances? Anyone would like to share? Please raise your hand. Uh, we often get controlled by our circumstances, limited by our circumstances. So Janmashtami also tells us how we should not get limited by our circumstances. How is that? We shall see later. But before that, I want to listen to one of you, if you have any experience to share, how you got limited by your circumstance, or how you don't get limited by circumstance. Any of these you can share. Anyone would like to share? May I request Ashutosh to please share your views on this?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Uh,
Yes.
okay, I think one of the common example for limitation to the circumstances would be this pandemic. We
Hmm.
had like lot of plans or goals or like short term as well as long term plans, which
Yes.
got affected because of the pandemic. Like it may be travel or it may be organizing something. I think this would be the one example.
Wonderful. It was a very relevant example. Thank you, Ashutosh. Yes, we are in such a situation where practically all our activities, at least during the lockdown period, everything was halt. It came to a standstill, and we couldn't go out of our houses. We couldn't meet our friends. We couldn't visit any places. It was we were actually limited to our circumstances, a very limited thing, right? So, and definitely we don't like it, isn't it? But in spite of the circumstances which limit us, we there are a lot of people around us. They continued to do amazing things, right? So recently we had the Tokyo Olympics, and Neeraj Chopra, one of the Indian participants, he won the gold medal. And do you think he would have actually told, now since it is pandemic, since it is you know this lockdown, better I will not practice. I'll just sit down. I'll not practice my javelin throw, or I will not try to prepare myself, whether physically, mentally. No, definitely he would have not done that. He would have actually tried beyond his circumstances. He would have tried something to do, and that's very much evident in his performance in the recent Olympics, isn't it? Now that means we have two options. When if when a un, when a problem comes, when a difficult circumstance comes up in our life, we have two options. Either we can submit ourselves to the circumstances and become a victim of the circumstances, or we can see in the limited circumstances, in the available situation, still how can I do something without considering myself to be a victim? How can I rise above the circumstances? You know, that is a responsible life, isn't it? So now, why I'm sharing this is because imagine when 5,000 years ago, when Krishna made his appearance, when he was in the womb of Mother Devaki, The circumstances in which Devaki and Vasudeva were put into was terrible, isn't it? They were practically locked. They also were in a lockdown. They were put into the prison house, no movement, their hands and legs shackled. Uh, but now, seven children died. Sorry, six children died as soon as they took birth. The seventh one was apparently a miscarriage. Now, the eighth child, now he is going to take his birth. He has already taken birth, right? And especially when a child is born, parents celebrate. And how will Devaki and Vasudeva celebrate given their limited circumstances? Now, a very interesting thing is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. How uh, Vasudeva celebrated the appearance or birth of Lord Krishna. He said, he thought to himself, whenever a child is born, it is a custom among the Kshatriyas to give a lot of charity to everybody, to exchange gifts, to give charity. And one of the charities that is recommended is Godana, that is charity of giving cows, especially to the Brahmanas, the scholars. That's a custom. So Vasudeva thought, now I am in such a situation that physically I will not be able to go and give this Godhana to any of the Brahmanas. But you know what he did intelligently? Within his mind, he actually gave thousands and thousands of cows in charity to well qualified Brahmanas in his mind. He didn't let his circumstances stop him. You know, he worshipped the Lord within his mind. Externally, it is not possible due to my physical, circumstances. I'm not able to do, but within my mind, nobody can stop me. Kamsa can only shackle my hands and legs. Kamsa cannot shackle my mind. Kamsa cannot shackle my power of thinking, feeling, and willing. So Vasudeva wonderfully utilized his. Uh, he performed the entire birth ceremony of Lord Krishna within his mind, very gorgeously, and for this definitely he was rewarded by the law. So why I am telling this is because in any given circumstances, unless we accept defeat, circumstance cannot defeat us. Unless we have that willpower, just like in the game of boxing, the two opponents who are boxing against each other, and one person let's say he falls down, he receives a uh, you know he is kicked or he falls down. Now the referee who is watching that match, he gives time, he counts 1 2 3 whatever number, he counts until that person who has fallen down doesn't show any symptom of rising up. Until then he doesn't declare that he is lost in the match, isn't it? So why I'm giving this example is because uh, we have the willpower to rise above our circumstances. No circumstances can shackle the human spirit. This is what Janmashtami is teaching us through the behavior of Vasudeva and Devaki. They did not crib, they did not cry, oh, what to do, child is born, no way to celebrate. They did not feel bad at all. They offered all their respects to the Lord within their mind, performed the entire ceremony within the mind very gorgeously. So we should learn this from Devaki and Vasudeva. Don't get limited by our circumstances. That's one interesting lesson. Now, moving on, there is one more interesting thing. Now, here is a question. Is happiness by chance or by choice? Just now I told that Devaki and Vasudeva's joy or happiness knew no bounds when Krishna appeared. Hmm? Now, happiness, is it by chance or by choice? What do you feel? Those who say that happiness is by chance, can you please raise your hand? Just show a raise your hand. Happiness is by chance. Okay, nobody is raising the hand. How many of you feel happiness is by choice? Can you raise your hand? It's by choice. Okay, 1 2 3 Or, okay, so many of you, all of you probably, that you feel that happiness is by choice. Yes, you're all right. Happiness is by choice. It's never by chance, right? Now, Devaki and Vasudeva, how did they get this great fortune of becoming the parents of the Supreme Lord Krishna? Actually, when Krishna appeared, first, Krishna did not appear as a baby. Krishna appeared as the four-handed Narayana in front of Vasudeva and Devaki. Very brilliantly shining personality he appeared. And Devaki and Vasudeva immediately realized, oh, this is not an ordinary child. He's the Supreme Lord himself. They started offering prayers in glorification of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord actually appeared in that form to give assurance to Devaki and Vasudeva that now all your miseries are going to end. I have come, do not worry. That's why he appeared in his original form. Later, he transformed himself into a small baby upon Devaki's request. But the Lord informed Devaki and Vasudeva that in the previous life, you both have performed severe tapasya and you had a desire to possess me as your son. To fulfill that desire of yours, I have appeared now as your son. So the Lord takes pleasure in being always under the control or care of his beloved devotees. That's the speciality of Lord Krishna. Generally, when we say God, we always think that God is the one who is supreme, powerful, he controls everybody. But when it comes to Krishna, Krishna takes pleasure in being controlled by his devotees' love and devotion. That is some very special feature about Krishna. So, the happiness and joy that Devaki and Vasudeva were experiencing because of Krishna's appearance as their son was not by chance. They had actually earned it. They had done extreme tapasya in their previous lives just for getting this particular chance to become the parents of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So, from this, we also get to know that God reciprocates to our feelings and devotion. We should never think that, oh, I offered prayer today, I don't know whether God heard me or not. We should never think like this. If with intense love and devotion, with true love and devotion, if we pray, definitely God will hear and He will also answer our prayers, just like He did for Devaki and Vasudeva. So, another life lesson from this Janmashtami festival is if you want happiness, you have to earn it. It is by choice, it is through your action. And the second one is the Lord is always ready to reciprocate with our feelings of love and devotion. Now, the last part of today's today's discussion, another interesting life lesson I'm going to share. But before that, uh, can anyone answer this? Can you share an instance in your life where, in extreme circumstances, you found a ray of hope? Anyone would like to share? It was a very tough situation, but still you saw light at the end of the tunnel. You saw a ray of hope. Anyone would like to share? Or anyone has experienced it? Can you raise your hand, please? Even in extreme circumstances, you found some clue to get out of it. You found some ray of hope. All of us would have experienced in some or the other way in our life, isn't it? You see what happened with Devaki and Vasudeva. They were uh, practically hopeless. They had actually lost all hope because of the atrocities of Kamsa. But they, by the appearance of Lord Krishna, all their miseries came to an end and they saw a ray of hope. They hoped that throughout our life we are not going to be imprisoned like this. Definitely we shall lead a free life. We shall become free from these shackles. So they just didn't see a ray of hope, but they actually saw an effulgence of hope in front of them when they saw God, Krishna, face to face. Krishna says very nicely in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ye yathamam prapadyante tamstathaiva bhajamyaham. To what extent one surrenders oneself to me, to that extent I shall involve personally in his life. This is what Lord Krishna says. It's the law of reciprocity. So since Devaki and Vasudeva were completely surrendered to Krishna, Krishna appeared, ended their bondage, and it was such a wonderful experience for them. They were so happy, blissful, joyful. So never lose faith in the Lord under any extreme circumstances. That faith in God will actually uh, lead us to a ray of hope which we can through which we can come out of any difficult circumstance. So that is another life lesson that I wanted to share with all of you in today's discussion. So before we proceed, anyone has any questions, uh, anything to say before we close today's discussion? Any comments, any questions?
I have one question.
Yes, may I know who is this, please?
This is Chandan.
Yes, Chandan.
So I wanted to ask, what if the person who is performing good deed in his life performs good deed all throughout his life,
Performing
but does not performing good deeds,
good deeds, okay.
but does not reciprocate to God?
Does not receive any reciprocation from God, you're saying?
No, no. I'm saying does not reciprocate to God. I mean to say he does not preach to God, but he does
Okay,
all the good deeds.
okay, very nice question. So it's like I am being morally upright, I'm doing only good things in life. Uh, why should I believe in God? Is that your question?
Yes, that is my question.
Very nice question. You see what happens. This is a question many times we have discussed in different forums in our meetings, both online and offline. Now, I'll just give a brief answer to this. Now, when we say I am morally upright, I am doing the right things, I'm doing only good things. So we are like taking our mind, our limited experience as the standard, right? Whatever our mind in a given circumstance decides to be right, we think it is right and we do it. Whatever our mind says is wrong, we say it is wrong. We abstain. That means we are accepting mind as an authority. But what is the guarantee that the mind always gives us the right judgment? We are biased, we are limited in our understanding of the world around us. So, how can we have so much faith on our own mind? So, the Bhagavad Gita says that unless we actually control the mind, we cannot reach a stable platform. So, therefore, those who say that I don't want to follow God's instructions or don't want to refer to any holy book, I'll just follow whatever the mind says. I feel they may be treading a very dangerous path, right? The mind is the best of masters but worst of uh, the I mean best of servants but worst of masters, it is said. So but when we abide by the instructions, say, of the Bhagavad Gita, so Bhagavad Gita instructions are there, it is meant for our, it's like a user manual for us. Just like you don't use your gadget anyhow, however you want, isn't it? Whenever you get a gadget, you also get a user manual with it. And the best way to use the gadget is to follow the instructions given in the user manual. In the same way, for our life, the user manual is Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita can help us whenever we are in a dvandva, in a duality. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita can actually help us to come out of those dualities and lead a more balanced life. That's what I would say. So, following Bhagavad Gita, we actually get in touch with God. We get in touch with Krishna, and Krishna personally reciprocates and helps, especially when we are in a stage of confusion. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita can help us. And when we try to abide by those instructions, we can see Krishna personally involving in our life. It's an experiential thing, and I'm sure you can also experience that. What do you feel about this?
Yes, I find that instead of constricting our mind by reciprocating or by learning the teachings from Bhagavad Gita, we can explore our mind.
Correct, correct.
And all we are here to explore our mind further. And we are
Exactly.
born to explore our mind.
Exactly. So Bhagavad Gita expands our consciousness, expands our our perspective of looking at things. Right. Uh, that's what we do. I mean, when we study, let's say, some science book, what we do is the same thing, right? We don't just stick to our limited understanding about the world around us. We try to understand based on scientific facts, right? So our understanding about the world around us expands upon studying science and then applying it in our daily life. The same is true with Bhagavad Gita knowledge. It is wisdom, it is spiritual knowledge, and it definitely adds on to our life. See, for that instance, Arjuna, when Bhagavad Gita was spoken to whom? To Arjuna, who was in a very confused state of mind on the battlefield. And he was actually not knowing what to do, what is his duty. And after listening to the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna became, his mind got settled. All his difficulties and doubts were eradicated. He got clarity of purpose in life, and he went ahead, fought the battle, and emerged victorious. So, like that, all of us at some point in our life, we will definitely get into some kind of some kind of confusions, doubts, and all of those things. But the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is so wonderful, it can give us complete clarity of purpose. And when we follow this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in our life, we can see the hand of God in every aspect of our life. So that is my personal experience, and that is what I would like to share with all of you. Thank you very much for bringing up that wonderful question. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to ask anything or make a comment, or shall we wrap up? Okay, I think we are done for the day. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and being part of the session. I think Santosh has a couple of announcements to make. Over to Santosh.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It was quite an enriching experience to go through different life lessons that really the incident of Lord's appearance teaches us through through the experience of his parents. So the announcements are as follows. So this is about the final finale that we have of the whole series that we're covering today. So the session today was a part of a series called Pre-Janmashtami Bash series, and this is in line to the final finale, which is held between 26th to 28th August. So this is separated in 3 days. 26th is a day where we have all musical performances by students. On 27th we have storytelling session where all the students can share various stories that they have heard or seen about Lord Krishna. And on 28th we have an inspirational talk and venue to showcase different understandings or analogies that students hold about the importance of Lord Krishna's teachings. So with this I would like to mention about the main event. And in regards to the talent show, we are holding um, a platform where students can submit their various offerings to the Lord on this auspicious occasion of Janmashtami. So you can even make a sketch, do a painting, or sing a song, a bhajan, or any sort of thing, or even share just a few lines on your childhood experience of celebrating Janmashtami at some city or visiting some ancient temple, whatnot. So anything connected to the festival Janmashtami, welcome. So you can share the recordings of your offerings with us on the link mentioned as there, or you can even go through the details mentioned on the broadcast mail. So that's it for today. Hope you had quite an interesting and informational talk for today. Thank you one and all for tuning in. Hope to see you later for upcoming sessions. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yeah. Thank you, Santosh.